Hi loves and welcome! Today I have something special for you, and this is watercolor illustration. Recently I got quite a few requests on watercolor illustrations, so I thought the process of making a watercolor illustration is very similar to alcohol markers. And watercolors can be much more affordable than markers, so there you have it, a tutorial on watercolor illustration. For the paper I am using a Potentate watercolor pad. It's a 100% cotton paper and roughly about A5 size. Now this is a paper pad, which means all of the sides of the paper are glued together. This is very useful against warping the paper. Paper pads usually have a corner or a section without glue, so you can take out your artwork. Next, for the initial sketch, I'm gonna be using a graphite pencil and a kneaded eraser. For the paints, I am using Rosa Gallery watercolor paints. These are professional high-quality watercolors. For the colors, I'm gonna be using Aureolin. You can use any light yellow, then warm red, pyrrole red, violet for the shades, burnt sienna, and Indantran gray. You can use Payne's gray or indigo or even black instead of this one. Then of course the palette for mixing paints. I have a ceramic one and a jar of water. My main brush for today is Escoda Versatil number 6 and additional mop brush Escoda Ultima number 10. You can use any brushes you have. And of course paper towels. Now we can get started to the initial sketch. At first, I am mapping out the general proportions of my object on the sheet. I am looking closely at my reference photo and try to capture the proportions. You don't have to copy your reference picture the exact same way. The reference is just a guide for you. Now with help of C-curves, I am building the main shape of the banana. With help of a curved line, I am making the visible edge on the skin, slightly mapping out the tip of the banana. Now adding two lines for the stem. Now adding the attachment point. The main shape is done. Let's add the cast shadow. The light is coming from the top, so I'm adding the cast shadow right under the banana, softening the further edges of the shadow with an eraser. Now I'm making my sketch lighter with the help of a kneaded eraser. Grabbing my main brush number 6, picking up my yellow and making very light consistency, and making the base layer. On my reference picture, I see very warm yellow, and this is because of the background. And I've decided not to add the yellow background to my art, so my yellow is slightly cooler than on the reference picture. Now I'm rinsing my brush, leaving the excess water on the paper towel and lifting some color on the highlighted areas. Now building up more volume, grabbing my same yellow and adding a little bit of burnt sienna, covering with this color the side of the banana that is not highlighted. Picking some more color with a clean damp brush. Now I want to add the shade. I'm picking up the same yellow and adding a small amount of violet. The colors are opposite on the color wheel and they neutralize each other's vibrancy and brightness, so they make the perfect shadow color. Adding the same mixture on the stem. For the highlighted broken area of the stem, I am grabbing yellow and a teeny bit of red. To my shade color, I am adding indent gray and burnt sienna. Once again, for your darkest color, you can use paints gray or indigo. Keep the mixture a little bit warmer and add more burnt sienna. And I am applying this mixture to the darkest areas of the stem. Making more of the mixture of burnt sienna and indent gray and adding it to the tip of the banana and to some banana spots. My base layer is already dry and I want to mix the types of the spots. Some are harsh on the dry and some spots are on the wet areas. So I'm grabbing my second brush and damping some areas on the banana. And now placing the marks on the dry and wet areas. Just looking at the reference picture and trying to make similar marks. Now I feel like I need to add more shadow, so again grabbing my yellow and a little bit of violet. Some of my spots are not completely dry and it's totally fine, I am going over them. We'll refine details on the finishing stage where the surface is fully dry. Picking out some color with a clean damp brush on the highlighted area. Adding volume with the dark mix on the broken end of the stem. I am using the same mixture, burnt sienna plus indent gray. Working on the stem and the tip of the banana. Now, the surface of my banana is still wet and I want to add a couple of dark spots, using same brown mixture. Now, while the banana is drying, I want to add the cast shadow, wetting the furthest edges of the shadow with the clean damp brush. To the teeny bit of yellow that I had on my palette, I'm adding my indent gray. I'm taking it in the light consistency and going up to the areas I just wetted. Rinsing my brush and softening the edges of the shadow with clean damp brush. Loading slightly thicker consistency of indent gray and adding it right under the banana. While the shadow and the banana are drying, I want to fix some shapes. Grabbing my yellow in the light consistency and adding it to the top edge of the banana. Darkening the broken edge of the stem with my browns and yellows that I have on my palette. Mixing yellow and a little bit of violet and adding this shade mixture to the bottom of my banana. And repeating the same thing to enhance the effect. Now the surface of my banana is almost completely dry and I want to add some marks and dots. Mixing my deep brown with help of burnt sienna and indent red gray, looking at my reference picture and trying to imitate the same spots. I'm trying to vary the consistency of my brown. Sometimes I use more light version and sometimes I mix in even darker. This can help your spots to look natural. Making dots, lines and irregular shapes. Now I want to add a couple of very dark accents on the skin. I'm adding more indent red gray to my mixture to make it even darker. Layering slightly darker volume on the stem and muting that bright highlight on the tip of the banana. Now that my shadowed area is dry, I want to deepen the shade, grabbing my indent red gray and adding thick consistency right under the banana. Dragging the color to the edges, then rinsing my brush, and with the damp clean brush, I am dragging the color and making softer blend. Going over the deepest area once again. And now I leave my art fully dry attached to the pad. This way the paper doesn't warp if it's dry straight. And then with help of my palette knife, I am taking out my artwork. And this is the finished result. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial and give it a try. And let me know in the comments, should I make more watercolor tutorials or should I stick to the alcohol markers? Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next videos. Bye for now!